Good morning and welcome to the channel. If you're watching the replay of this stream, go ahead and skip ahead to the 4-minute mark. That's when everything will kick off. I'm going to give it time and allow everyone to come into the stream and to let everything buffer in, make sure the audio is good. And as we move forward, let me put this up here. Make sure my audio is good, and as we move forward, I'll start everything at the 4-minute mark. So hopefully we have people coming in already, but again, I'm going to give it a couple minutes, so if you want to hang out, you can hang out. Otherwise, skip forward to the 4-minute mark, and I'll see you then, and that's when we'll get everything started. We'll be covering the ETF inflows. I have some updates on tokenization. We'll cover the Bitcoin pullback that happened as well. So again, let's give it a couple minutes, for people to come in, and we will start at the 4-minute mark. Do we have anyone in already? We've been live for about a minute now. Hopefully we got a couple people coming in. Normally William's here by now. There he is. Good morning, William. I just called it out on the stream. Like clockwork. You're as consistent as I am. Probably more consistent, to be honest with you. So good morning, William. Hopefully you had a good holiday weekend with your family. Audio sounds good. Love to hear it. Lots of information to cover today. We had a big pullback last night. We'll cover the reasoning behind that as well. Got some updates on tokenization. Things are heating up in tokenization. We got some updates in tokenization as well as the ETF updates. We have 21 shares going live today, so we're going to cover 21 shares. Tons and tons and tons of info coming down the pipeline. We got a few people in the stream already. Again, I'm going to give it to the 4-minute mark, so we're going to let everything buffer in here and give people time to warm up. So a little patience, and again, if you're rewatching the stream, skip ahead to the 4-minute mark so I'm not wasting your time. William says we are at 8 people so far, so again, we're at 2 minutes live now. Again, I said the 4-minute mark, so welcome to everyone who's come in. Again, interact in the chat so I know who's here. William's always amazing in the chat. Janine's usually amazing in the chat. I'm sure she might be popping in every once in a while. She usually hops in while she's at work anyway. Oh, man, how was my Thanksgiving? I'll give you guys a brief update on my Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving was horrible. I don't know how to put it without giving too much detail and being respectful. My girlfriend's mother passed away at 7 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving in her bed. So she was very distraught, obviously, and, her grandmother's still living. So it was a very painful day. Her mom was not that old. She was only about 60. So it was brutal. It was a brutal Thanksgiving, if I'm being honest with you, but enough sad things. We are into the 3-minute mark, so we're going to give it another minute and let people come in here. Yeah, she was not doing well. We actually brought her home from the hospital on Wednesday, and then she passed away Thursday morning. So it was very unexpected and kind of threw a wrench in the Thanksgiving festivities, if you will. But I mean, it was life's rough, man. That's now you have a little bit of an understanding why I had the gratitude speech on Friday after Thanksgiving. But all right, 3 minutes and 46 seconds in, so I'll give it a little bit more time and we will hop into everything here. We got 10 people in the stream, which is perfect, and we are about to hit the 4-minute mark, so I will get it started right now. As always, if it is your first time here, make sure you kick back, relax, enjoy yourself. I'm not going to ask you to do anything, but if it's your second time, make sure you hit subscribe, smash the like button, and engage in the chat. The chat is important. Why is the chat important? Because the way I run my streams, we're going to hop into the price action. I'm going to pull up the chart, and we're going to use it for what? What do we use it for? Context. We use the chart for context. We are not following price as far as worrying about 10-cent moves, but we use it for context to describe exactly what is happening in the market so we can kind of paint a whole picture of what's going on between macroeconomics, human psychology, ETFs. All of it combines to paint a picture, and that's what we use to develop our theses, whichever you want to call it. So without further ado, we will hop into the chart. And good morning, David. I saw you come in. We will hop into the chart, and we had a pullback last night. Why did we have a pullback last night? Well, first, before I get into that, let's cover what exactly XRP did during this pullback. We fell all the way down and bounced off $2. We said this was our floor before Thanksgiving. I also said that I had a gut feeling we were going to have a run up over Thanksgiving. Obviously, that didn't happen. It looked like it might come true yesterday when we got up to 228, but we bounced off of it and came right back down. And we had the sell-off this morning, bounced off $2, and now we are climbing back up as the market goes live. This is a good sign, but why did we pull back? Everyone wants to know. We pulled back for one reason and one reason only, and that is because of Bitcoin, period, end of story. That being said, here is an article. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP crash, triggering 637 million in liquidations. Bitcoin shed 5% in the past 24 hours, dragging Ethereum, XRP, and other altcoins down with it. The crypto is now down 21% in the past month, ending October on a negative note. Bitcoin plunged to an intraday low of 85,694 and is currently resting at 86,800, down 31% from its all-time high. Beta assets like Ethereum and XRP, which follow Bitcoin's cues, have shed 5.6 and 6.5% respectively over the past day, highlighting the delicate situation among altcoins. As a result of the sudden sell-off, total crypto market liquidations have skyrocketed to 637 million. Some 568 million of which are long positions, according to CoinGlass data. So what happened? This is important, okay? It can come down here and tell you what drove the sell-off, but basically what happened is those long positions got liquidated. This was all derivatives and all futures-based. Anytime we see a sharp decline like this, it's because of leverage. I mean, truthfully. So XRP's drop had nothing to do with XRP. It had to do with Bitcoin longs getting liquidated, and XRP followed the suit. As a matter of fact, I don't have it pulled up here, but I saw an article yesterday. I didn't report on it because it was talking about futures and derivatives. But that being said, there was a massive decline in XRP futures and derivatives on Sunday. I was thinking about reporting on it, but it didn't really impact the spot level, which isn't really what I follow. But it's ironic that this happens right after that. So what that means is when people are abandoning futures and derivatives, it means they're pulling away leverage and they're focusing more on the spot actual asset, which we have seen in our ETF tracking, which I'm going to pull up now. However, there's a slight difference in our ETF tracking. As we look forward here, we always look at the last 24 hours. Spot volume is ahead of the leverage volume right now. Why is that? There's an important distinction. When we have a massive pullback like that, what do people do? They enter longs in as leverage because they're expecting it to go back up. This is a scalping intraday trading strategy. When you have a massive pullback like that, it's gonna pull back to the top. I've talked about basic like chart analysis in the EMA 9 and how if we pull too far away from the EMA 9, it tries to go back to it. So when we have a massive, I'll pull it back up. When we have a massive pullback, you can see right now, this is our EMA 9 line. It pulled all the way down to $2. So what do people do? They enter a bunch of long positions because they know it's going to pull back to this EMA 9 line, and then they sell when it taps it. So like if you do a day trading scalp strategy, if you're moving, $1,000 per every half cent, again, none of this is financial advice. I just want to explain to you how the trading scenario works. So, if you go all the way down to $2 and it bounces and you put in a long position for, $1,000 every half cent, and your target is this EMA 9 line, which is exactly what I would do if I was doing it. That's, 204. So you set your stop loss at, 199.5, whatever it would be, and you sell when it hits to 204. At a half a cent per $1,000, it's $8,000. I mean, that's a pretty simple scalp strategy. Again, not financial advice, but you can understand when you really focus in on the derivatives and the leverage and all the things, you can understand why this price action goes like this. So when you see a big pullback like this and it bounces, ultimately you're looking for a pullback to the EMA 9, kind of like a resettling of the price, if you will. And that's how day trading is done, and intraday scalping and things like those. So that being said, I'm going to hop back to ETFs, because that's what we're here for. So that's a basic understanding of the price action, why Bitcoin sold off, and what we're looking at now. 21 shares goes live today. We're going to cover that as well. But that being said, let's look at the ETFs. Currently, in the last 24 hours, again, market just open, but in the last 24 hours, 23.5 million of spot volume, 33 million of leverage volume. I just covered why leverage volume is going to be higher in the morning, especially following the pullback. So as you can see, our ETF inflows have been steadily increasing up until the holiday, which we had to decline. This is normal. Usually pre-holiday, there's a slight decrease. A lot of people abandon positions because they don't want to be holding over that long period of time. So there's usually a slight sell-off before extended weekends for that reason, which is, again, why I was kind of expecting a slight run-up, and we were having one until last night. Just a basic touch on the spot ETFs. Again, not much change in the spot ETFs because we are coming off the holiday weekend. The market was open on Friday, but other than that, everything has been closed and there hasn't been a ton of trading. Until we get to tokenized stocks and we get to 24/7 trading, then we'll be able to really focus on a lot more of this. And good morning, Versatile Fortnite. I see you in there. And again, engage in the chat as I'm going through this. Ask questions, because as I get through all of the information, I'm going to come back to the chat, and that's going to be part 2 of the stream. So again, chat. Moving on. So we covered the basic inflows of the ETFs. All right, I'm going to hop into the actual spot ETFs and what we are physically holding in these right now, as well as after that, I'm going to hop into the news. We got 21 shares going live. We got CoinShares pulling their ETF, as well as some updates on tokenization. There's a lot to cover, so stick with me. I'm going to go through the ETFs briefly because there's not a ton of updates given the fact that the market was closed the entire time. Good morning, Desired. Let's see here. So let's start with Franklin Templeton. Franklin Templeton has gone up. It is at 39 million XRP right now. Grayscale has gone up. They're at 83 million XRP right now. Bitwise has gone up. Or not Bitwise, Canary Capital. Canary Capital has gone up. They're at 158 million XRP right now. This is interesting. Rex Osprey has gone down. They are holding 577,000 XRP right now. Remember, this was at 32 million. Why? Why is this important? Okay. This is important because they hold their XRP from CoinShares. CoinShares just pulled their ETFs. This is important, and I'm going to cover what all this has to do together. Okay. So moving on, Bitwise is now holding 81, almost 82 million XRP in their trust. So covering everything is going up. We did have an overall decline because the Rex Osprey ETF offloaded their XRP. Why? Everyone wants to know why that's important. Actually, I say everyone wants to know why that's important. No one's reporting on Rex Osprey, so I guarantee you no one knows about it because they don't consider that a true spot ETF. But it was holding 30-something million XRP. That's not nothing. All right. Now, the reason it's gone is because CoinShares pulled their ETF for XRP. Why is that important? Well, let me find it. I had it pulled up here. At least I thought I did. I must have pulled it down. Oh, that's 21 shares. I guess I did pull down the whole CoinShares thing. Well, that's unfortunate. I was researching tokenization, and I think I forgot to hold the CoinShares one up on why it's pulling off of here. It looks like I did. So CoinShares removed their XRP ETF and their Solana ETF and their Litecoin ETF. The reason they did this is because they just announced a merger and they're going to be listing on the NASDAQ. It's very, very common for a company to clean up assets that may be risky, XRP, crypto, before listing on the NASDAQ to improve their overall valuation. They don't want a volatile asset on their books. Removed their ETF. For all of them. Again, not just XRP, they removed HBAR and Litecoin as well. So we will not have a CoinShares ETF. That being said, we do have a 21 shares ETF going live today. Let's see if they've listed it on here yet. It wasn't listed this morning before I started the stream, but it's hopefully pulling right now. Good morning, Three Brothers. Why do you hate me? There it goes. Our products. It was uploading TSOL. They still do not have the XRP single index showing on here. It did go live today. That was confirmed. Let me pull it up in here. Maybe I can pull it up this way. And I believe theirs was TOXR 21 shares. It's not showing up on Robinhood. That's unfortunate. They got everything else. Amplify, Franklin, XRP futures. 21 shares is not showing listed on Robinhood, but they did announce they were going live today. And they don't have it showing on their website. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that, but I did see a tweet on X directly from 21 shares saying they're going live today. So it just might not be on Robinhood yet, or at least on Robinhood Legend. I think we ran into this last time where it was up on regular Robinhood and not on Robinhood Legend, because that's what I use for charting. More than likely, that is the case. I know it's live, but we can't find it. So there's no information on the 21 shares ETF right now that I have for you, but it is live. And I want to take a second now. We've covered all the ETFs. It's still pulling XRP from supply. I covered that ad nauseum as far as how much and the rate it's happening. And we have another ETF going live today. It's all sounds going on and off. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why I'm having issues. I switched my sound. Hopefully it's clearing up right now. I think I'm having an issue with some internet lag, honestly, and I really, really hope not. Hopefully the internet will fix itself. I can try and clear some of these tabs I have open because I have a lot of information open for you all as far as news, because there is a ton of news, and I wonder if that's slowing down my internet speed. So hopefully the mic will fix itself. Let's see here, because I'm midstream. There's not really much I can do to adjust it, unfortunately. And unfortunately, YouTube also, the first thing they do if they have any kind of internet issue is they start messing with the mic. So hopefully it clears itself and we don't have any more issues. Let me pull down a couple more pages, make sure I don't have anything open that doesn't need to be open. All right, so here we go. I'm moving into this now. Bitcoin shed 5% less. Oh, I already did that. We don't need to do that. Why? Here we go. Yeah, my internet's giving me issues. That's probably why the mic is lagging. I'm going to start closing out tabs. Hopefully it's not giving an issue anymore. Good morning, race fan from Florida. Adam Burnham 7163 says sound is going in and out. Hopefully. Sorry, Desiree. Reconnection successful. Hopefully it's better now. My internet just disconnected and reconnected. What I was saying is they were having issues in my neighborhood the last couple days, and they've been doing work on the internet, and it's been going in and out, and it looks like they just did it again. Excuse me. Hopefully everyone is here still. I got disconnected and reconnected. At least that's the update I got. So hopefully you all are still here and I didn't just completely drop the chat. That's really, really unfortunate. If you guys are still with me, I'm just going to keep continuing. It says XRP exchange balances fall 29% amid a huge withdrawals, reshaping liquidity as new U.S. spot XRP ETFs gain strong early demand. So we had massive outflows to shake exchanges over the last year. This is from dating all the way back to February. Okay, so since February, we have lost about a third of available XRP on exchanges. This is not nothing. XRP liquidity is undergoing significant changes. On-chain data reveals one of the largest synchronized drops across major exchanges. Nearly every top platform reported massive outflows, signaling potential shifts in user behavior and institutional strategies. Analysts note that the total XRP held on exchanges has fallen sharply, suggesting either large-scale withdrawals, migration to self-custody, or internal rebalancing. The total exchange held XRP dropped to 15.86 billion, a decline of 6.5 billion XRP since February, representing a 29% decrease. You must have Bitcoin internet. It keeps dropping. I'm sorry, Steve. I have fiber internet. I run a speed test. I have 200 meg upload speed. I have a gig download speed. I don't know why it dropped. There's some issue going in my neighborhood, and we are having inclement weather here right now. It's icing and snowing, so hopefully that's not playing a part. They've just been messing with our internet a lot lately, so hopefully the problem fixes itself, and hopefully the stream has cleaned up for you guys. It really, really is unfortunate, and I'll be honest with you, I'm slightly embarrassed that it's acting up right now. Moving on, over 40,000 weird XRP transactions appeared out of nowhere. What's going on? As revealed by prominent XRP ecosystem contributor Vet, XRP Ledger recently saw a type of background activity that does not match normal traffic because of the spike in account set transactions is too big and too organized to come from random users. These prints suddenly jumped from 20,000 to 40,000 range and stayed there, which is the kind of pattern you see when someone is preparing a large batch of wallets, running configuration steps, and testing permissions before plugging in real liquidity. Amid the recent incident, many brought up how the last major operator known for bulk account actions, BitGo, already had its own anomaly months ago. But that event looked completely different. BitGo's situation was a script failure. Their automation kept trying to activate new XRP accounts, drain the reserve, and then got stuck in a loop sending tiny payments that could not be funded. This is not that. This is orchestrated, this is coordinated, and this is way, way, way bigger than what happened with them. The new wave is opposite. It's controlled, deliberate. I started answering because I've already done a short video on this. So XRP is facing an exchange shortage. At the same time, the exchange flows at another layer, with Binance showing over 68 million XRP leaving in 7 days and more than 35 million across the past month, while Upbit, Bithumb posted strong monthly inflows. So we are seeing major activity on the XRPL. At the same time, we are seeing major XRP outflows from exchanges. This is not nothing. This is a massive, massive, massive element. And hopefully the stream is clear now. It's showing that it's fully green with no dropped frames. Hopefully that fixes the problem. It's definitely internet related. My CPU usage is like a 7%. So it's not computer related. Hopefully the internet glitch fixed itself and this is much clearer, and I apologize for any inconvenience. Moving on. Why Bitcoin dropping today? We already covered this, but this is another story about the Bitcoin drop. Again, the XRP price movement today is following Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with XRP. Why is it following Bitcoin? I touched on this previously, but I do think it's very, very important. This is talking about the reclassification of treasuries, okay? On October 10th, a liquidation event sparked decline. Analysts traced the sell-off of October 10th when nearly 21 billion in positions were liquidated within minutes. Flash crashes on that date intensified concerns across the industry. Rand Neuner, founder of Crypto Banter, attributes the prolonged weakness to an October 10th announcement by the MSCI, the world's second largest index provider. According to Neuner, MSCI is evaluating whether firms holding primarily crypto assets, termed digital asset treasuries or DATs, should be classified as funds instead of companies. The MSCI categorizes these entities as funds. They would lose eligibility for passive indexing. A final ruling is scheduled for January 15th. I don't think people realize how much of an impact this is going to play in the crypto market. And again, my internet's giving me some issues now saying I have dropped frames. So hopefully it's not too bad. But what they're saying here is that any of these DAT companies, including XRP, which XRP doesn't have many, but any of these DAT companies could be reclassified as funds, such as an ETF or a security, which would have major, major implications for those DAT companies and major implications for the asset being held. So if all the Bitcoin DATs have to be reclassified as funds, that is going to crash Bitcoin massively, and everything in the crypto market is going to follow it. I think this is why we have a lot of uncertainty in the crypto market right now, because everything follows Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's waiting for that. January 15th could implode Bitcoin. My opinion, not financial advice. And again, everything in these streams and videos is my opinion. Everything's for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. But I appreciate every single one of you for being here, and hopefully you gain some value from the information that I'm presenting. So Now we've discussed ETFs. We've discussed what happened with Bitcoin and why and what we're kind of worried about, but tokenization is heating up again. And I really, really, really want to touch on tokenization because we haven't talked about it in a while, and it is highly important. But this came out over the weekend. The NASDAQ crypto chief will move as fast as we can on tokenized stocks. NASDAQ is treating approval for tokenized stocks as a priority, with the exchange ready to answer regulatory questions and respond to feedback as soon as the SEC provides direction. Matt Severse, who leads digital asset strategy for NASDAQ, told CNBC at the Technological Conference in Florida that the company hopes to finalize the process without unnecessary delays. I think we have to really evaluate where the public comments come back in and then answer and respond to the SEC questions as they come through, Severse said. We hope to kind of work with them as quickly as possible. So they are wanting to tokenize stocks as fast as possible on the NASDAQ. Why is this important? Well, Robinhood and tokenization. I've covered this briefly before when he was saying tokenization is a freight train, but I'm gonna hop into this part of it here. I think most major markets will have some framework in the next 5 years, he said, though he added that reaching 100% could take more than a decade. A tokenized asset is a digital representation of a real-world asset like stocks, bonds, commodities that can be recorded and traded on blockchain distributed ledger. In June, Robinhood began offering more than 200 tokenized stocks to customers in the European Union, giving them a new way to gain exposure. I couldn't find it, but it's now up to over 500. So it's increased by 150% of available tokenized stocks since this was announced in July. So that's the rate we are increasing with tokenization. It says, I think it will become default way for exposure to U.S. stocks outside the U.S. This is highly popular in Europe. Robinhood actually just released their tokenized stocks, and you can actually see the framework. There was a good video. I should have pulled it up, but there was a good video where you can't tell. You literally can't tell you're trading a tokenized stock versus a regular stock. They do it side by side, and that is when adoption is really going to kick off, when people don't even know they're doing or using tokenization. It says, I think that will come starting in Europe, but then expanding in the rest of the world. On the other hand, Taneva expects the U.S. to be among the last economies to actually fully tokenize due to what he calls the greater sticking power of financial infrastructure. So, that being said, they're tokenizing stocks fast. Okay, very, very, very fast. Who are they using? Well, Robinhood is using Bitstamp to do this. Who else is Bitstamp partnered with, guys? Sorry, I just slammed my desk. But who else is Bitstamp partnered with? Do we know? I think we do. Bitstamp and Ritual launched a derivatives exchange. This is back in 2024. This is very old news. But Bitstamp, who's partnering with Robinhood for tokenization of stocks, is also partnered with XRP. And they're also talking, I don't have it pulled up here, but they're also talking with the DTCC, tokenizing everything on the back end of the stock market on a distributed ledger technology, which we already know Ripple and XRP are working with the DTC. Everything is lining up for tokenization, and it's ramping up quickly, guys. I mean, Ripple is involved in everything with everyone. It's ridiculous. Hopefully the stream has cleared up. I'm sorry we had a little issue with the audio there. I've covered all the news. We covered the Bitcoin drop. We covered the XRP ETF inflows still climbing even amidst a slow holiday weekend. We covered MSCI and the reclassification of treasuries. We covered Robinhood partnering with Bitstamp and XRP being already partnered with Bitstamp, as well as everything going on with NASDAQ. Tons of information. A lot of things are lining up, and hopefully you caught my video on Sunday or Saturday talking about the macro scenario that's happening right now, because quantitative tightening ends today. What does quantitative tightening mean? Basically, when the government, there's several different ways that they can manipulate the economy from the Fed. One of them is quantitative tightening, which is basically restrictions on loans, right? Pulling money out of the available money supply. They do that by restricting loans. They're ending that starting today. There's also rumors that they're going to move into quantitative easing, which is away from fractal banking, essentially. If you know what fractal banking, I'll give you a quick rundown, basic explanation of fractal banking, which is how our banking system actually works. Say, easy math. The banks are only required to hold 10% of the money available. So that being said, if you were to deposit $100 into the bank, they only have to keep $10 of it. They can take that $90 and loan it out. Okay, so they only hold 10%. What they did during COVID is they removed that and allowed the banks to use all of it. That this can happen during quantitative easing. Right now, we just ended quantitative tightening, which means they're going to loosen a little bit the loans, right? But when they get into quantitative easing, they can hand out even more money and they can remove that 10% of fractoral. This is the equivalent of printing money, okay? It's the equivalent of interest rates decreasing, right? So when banks don't have to hold as much money, they can issue more loans, right? Well, when interest rates go down, people want to take out more loans. This is the entire concept. It increases the velocity of money. By increasing the velocity of money, you increase the speed of the economy. So that being said, that's why I'm super bullish on XRP, because what does it do? It is the definition of the velocity of money and ends a lot of the liquidity issues that we have with the current financial system. So just a little tidbit, again, not financial advice, but that's kind of what's happening right now in the macro landscape. If you didn't watch it, I suggest you go back and watch the video I did on Saturday. It's literally it's less than 5 minutes, but there's a lot of good information in there on what we can expect moving forward as far as the macro picture of what's going on. All right, so I'm going to hop into the chat now. That is all the information I pulled up for you. So I'm going to go through, answer any questions, and again, keep chatting, because as long as the chat is active and as long as we keep going and as long as we keep growing, I will continue the stream. And hopefully everyone was able to get back in after the stream dropped. I'm sorry, again, I've been having some internet issues here. So hopefully everyone was able to get back in after the stream dropped. Again, I really apologize for the sound going in and out and the stream dropping. Hopefully the internet has stabilized. So again, going through the chat right now. Info sound good, but taking too long for me to stick around. Info sounds good, but taking too long for me to stick around. Okay, well, sorry, Desiree. I'm sorry I was having issues today. Hopefully you come back and check another one. Steven says you must have Bitcoin internet. It keeps dropping. Stephen Hayes, if Bitcoin could crash on January 15th and the rest of crypto follows Bitcoin, why should we buy XRP if it could crash with Bitcoin? So, I mean, there's a possibility of that because of the market sentiment around the DATs. So why should we buy XRP if it could crash? That is your decision. I buy XRP because I am a long-term holder. Okay, my goal is to not buy and sell and trying to time the top of the market. And hopefully everyone has gotten that from me at this point. I am an XRP accumulator. I am here for what it's going to be in 1 year, 5 years, 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. I am not trying to top the bottom. I am not trying to time the top and bottoms of the market to scalp it. Just because I have the knowledge of it and I explain the chart for context for you guys, that's not what I'm doing. So hopefully my mission here is clear. I am here for what XRP is going to be next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, not what it's going to do tomorrow. But I like being able to give you guys the information of what to expect and maybe understand exactly what's happening, why we look at it. Because again, the whole purpose is to know what we hold and understand the long view of XRP. Hopefully that clears that up for you, Stephen. If you want to try and time the markets, that is your decision. I will give you the information, but that's just me. Are you asking why W pools B but XRP if Bitcoin crashes? Are you asking why? I don't know what you're asking there, William. I'm not understanding. Art Caffeine says XRP is going to decouple from BTC and we need BTC to crash for this to happen. Agreed. Yes, that is very, very true. We are back. George, welcome back. You didn't miss much. The stream crashed a little bit. I'll give a review here again in a little bit. The stream crashed this morning, unfortunately, and I lost some people. Could someone tell me how many people are in the stream? It was very unfortunate how the stream went down this morning. That being said, yeah, but yes, Art Caffeine, I completely agree with you. XRP, in order for XRP to decouple from Bitcoin, there is going to have to be a massive market shakeup, and there will be pain involved with that. My opinion, not financial advice. I actually really clearly explained that in the video from Saturday, the roundup. 34 in the stream right now. Thank you everyone for joining. Again, the stream dropped at the very beginning, so if you're coming into it, I will recap all the information. Stick with me, and if you're new to the stream, please engage in the chat. Ask any questions that you want. The way that this works is I will continue to go through the chat until I am out of things to talk about. But here shortly, I'm going to quickly do a recap again because the stream did drop, so I want to make sure everyone has the ability to have the information. But interact in the chat because I'm at the bottom of it now. So after I recap, I'm going to come back to it. And as long as the chat stays active and we can continue talking and the stream is growing, I am going to continue the live stream. Again, the more you chat, the more you like, the more you share, the more this gets out to people, the more it grows, and the more of a hangout we can have. The more people we get in the stream, the better. Do you think the price drop is from 1 billion released from escrow? No, George, I do not. I covered it, and I'm going to hop back into it right now for you, okay? Sorry for my phone there. But I'm going to hop back into it right now, and I will start because there's a lot of people who came in who didn't see it because it was the first thing I covered. So let me pull up the Bitcoin drop here so everyone understands. All right, so I am going to switch that right now. So quick recap right now. Appreciate you all hanging out with me. So Bitcoin is dropping today. Crypto market faces $144 billion loss. Bitcoin crashed to 86.5, wiping $144 billion from the crypto market as Yearn, Finance, DeFi, hack, and heavy BTC liquidations fueled the panic. So there was a DeFi hack which scared a lot of people. This is what kicked it off, okay? Thin weekend liquidity and record leverage worsened the BTC drop. So basically all of this that was liquidated out was leveraged longs, okay? People messing around with leverage. Always it explains the drops. Bitcoin price saw a sharp price crash falling below 86,500 and triggering a crypto market crash because everything follows Bitcoin right now. So so basically, hang on, let me get out here. So basically, the entire crypto market crash was because of fear in Bitcoin due to a hack and leverage longs being liquidated, and then everything else followed suit. Again, this is why I say that right now, until there is a decoupling, everything is going to follow Bitcoin. Crypto goes as Bitcoin goes until there is a decoupling. And I mentioned that because, and Race Fan brought it up, I mentioned that because on January 15th, they are going to have to possibly reclassify the DATs, meaning that MicroStrategies and these other things would have to be reclassified as funds and not DAT companies, which has a whole new process of litigation and regulation that they will have to follow, and that will crush Bitcoin. Like, it will not be good. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin drops 50% if that happens. Now, that being said, some food for thought. Remember when Evernorth went live? What's Evernorth? Evernorth is a treasury company. Where did they get all of their XRP from? Most of it came from Ripple. Okay? So by Ripple offloading that much XRP, because remember, that happened right after this MSCI announcement that they were going to reclassify, or that they could potentially reclassify everything on January 15th. So Ripple got rid of all their XRP and put it into another company specifically for that, so their company can't get hit with this. So Ripple can't be deemed a fund. That's why they opened up Evernorth. My opinion, not financial advice, but that's why it happened so fast. But I've covered the Bitcoin crash and why XRP followed Bitcoin. We've talked about the MSCI and what could possibly happen in January as far as the reclassification of the DATs. That's a major piece, and that's where a lot of this fear is coming from. And I read it here, and I'll retouch on it again. Let me bring it up. The analysts believe that this is what caused the crash liquidation event on October 10th. And that's why there was if you guys remember, there was a massive whale who placed a huge short right before this happened. Okay, so if we think about it, I mean, there's things at play here. This happened and the entire market crashed. There was a large short placed on Bitcoin right before this announcement went live. And on top of that, let's not forget that the Trump coin, was it WFI or WLFI, whichever one it was, sold off 30% before this crash happened, an hour before this crash happened. Come on, guys. I mean, not financial advice, but facts, figures, numbers, logic do not lie. We touched, and I'll go through it briefly because there wasn't a whole lot of change. We touched on the ETFs. Again, not much work on the ETFs because of the holiday weekend, right? Markets were closed. We'll have more updates as we go through the week here. So in the last 24 hours, 11.11 million in spot volume. If anyone likes angel numbers, there you go, 1111. Leverage volume 19.35. Again, this is to be expected. I talked about this briefly earlier. The reason we're going to have more leverage now, and I talked about it as far as a day trading perspective, we had a pullback, right? We pulled all the way down to the $2 mark and bounced. We stretched away from EMA 9. So when we bounced off this, it's indicative there's going to be a pullback to EMA 9 and retest, which is exactly what it did. Again, not financial advice, basic charting. It goes back to EMA 9. So if I was a day trader, I would take a leveraged position right here at the $2 mark when it bounced. And what I would have done is usually I did a $500 to $1,000 every half cent. So if I were charting this day trade, I would have bought here at $500 to $1,000 per half cent, and I would have set my stop loss at 199.5, and then I would have sold as soon as it tapped this EMA 9, which is 204. So if I went from $2 to 204 at $1,000 for every half cent, that's $8,000 of profit. This is where leverage comes into play. It's people messing around. It's people messing around with intraday trades. It's people messing around with, scalping trades. It's not indicative of actual price. So that's where these levels come into effect. It's people trying to scalp the market. Really, that's why we get these supports and these resistances, and there's so much money that's playing around in here, guys. That's why I try to really focus on the long view of it and try to get past this noise. I like to explain it to you because it is happening. But it's better to have an understanding of it. So when we're looking at the big picture, these 10 or 20 or 30 cent price moves don't really impact us because that's really nothing to do with the utility and the overall function of XRP and where it's going to be next year. We love to see our bags pumped. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge XRP holder. I want to see it go up. But that's why I don't freak out when we go from $2.20 to $2 and all that stuff. It doesn't impact. Nothing changed with XRP as it dropped 20 cents. You know what I mean? All right. So that is the basics of the sell-off and the leverage and what's going on. Not a whole lot of stuff going on with the ETFs. Again, brief updates. There was slight moves in the ETFs, and I'm going to show it to you right now. 39 million in Franklin Templeton's ETF Trust. Grayscale's ETF Trust is at 83 million. Canary Capital is at 158 million. All of these have gone up. Bitwise is at 81 million. Also went up over the holiday weekend. Again, it was going up while nothing was happening. But we do have one that went down, and that was the Rex Osprey ETF. It lost over 30 million. It dropped to 577,000 physical XRP. Okay, but you notice something, CoinShares. Why is this important? Why is CoinShares important? CoinShares pulled their XRP ETFs. They were the custodian for the XRP for the Rex Osprey ETF, okay? CoinShares pulled their ETF because they have announced a merger and their intent to go live on the NASDAQ. When a company goes live on the NASDAQ, one of the first things you do is get rid of all your volatile assets because you want to improve your valuation. And having volatile assets on your balance sheet, not good for evaluation. Plain and simple. So CoinShares removed their ETFs as they're going live on the NASDAQ. Again, they removed XRP, Solana, and Litecoin. Not just XRP. Moving on. We covered the ETF holdings. We covered the crash. We covered tokenization. Hopefully you guys caught up on the tokenization towards the end. But essentially, Robinhood has increased its tokenized stocks from 200 million to 500 million since July. That's a 150% increase. We had I pulled up a article from the chief of NASDAQ saying we will move as fast as we can to tokenize stocks. They want this, guys. This is happening, and it's happening full force. The DTCC is already moving to start settling tokenized stocks on the back end. So all of this is coming to fruition. And to be honest with you, this is Jake Claver's thing right there, with the tokenization of the back end of the stock market. And right now, due to clarity, the only things that are able to handle that are the XRPL and Bitcoin. And we know Bitcoin's not going to do it because it doesn't have the velocity. So really, the only thing they're waiting on to utilize the XRPL and XRP for this is the liquidity. This is exactly what Jake Claver talked about. Whether it comes to pass the way he thought it would is one thing, but that's pretty exciting. So that being said, I have recapped everything. I'm going to hop back into the chat right now. Again, I appreciate you all. It's wonderful to have you. The channel has been growing, and it's because of all of you. If you're getting value from the stream, make sure to like, share, comment, chat. Those are the best things you can do to help me out. And again, I really appreciate it and hope you all had a great Thanksgiving with your families. Let's see here. If Bitcoin could crash on January 15th and the rest of crypto follows, why should we buy XRP? I did answer that. Our caffeine, I commented on that. 34 people in the stream. All right. Do you think the price drop is from 1 billion release to escrow? I just answered that. No, I do not. I believe the price drop is solely to do with Bitcoin and liquidity or liquidation of long positions. On January 15th, buy cheap and stack deep. In 2020, I started XRP DCA at 28 cents, and I continue to do so. Wonderful race. Yeah, exactly. So this is why I talk about the long-term view of XRP, because for me, and it sounds like for Race Fan as well, but for me, if XRP were to crash because of the reclassification of DATs, okay, let's think about that. If DATs are reclassified and XRP follows Bitcoin, nothing fundamentally changed about XRP. And if its price follows and it crashes, that to me, I look at that as a discount. Me personally, not financial advice. If nothing fundamentally of XRP has changed and the price goes to 50 cents, I mean, that's a discount. Thank you. I will buy it for 50 cents, 1,000,000%, because ultimately my thoughts and opinions on XRP and the value it presents and its utility and its adoption, regardless, none of that has changed if it follows Bitcoin to 50 cents. My opinion, not financial advice. But if we get something coming out that is negative about XRP and XRPL and it causes the price to drop, that's a different story. But that's not what we're talking about here. And that's why I follow the news. That's why I follow the price action. That's why I show up every single day, because I truthfully believe that once the liquidity shifts, this is going to change fast. That's the switch that I'm talking about, is utility. Utility to me is the switch. I'm not saying there's a $10,000 XRP sitting in the background, or I can tell you even what the price is going to be. But to me, utility is the switch, and that's when we're going to see our real appreciation. And again, ETFs are still slowly, steadily removing XRP from supply, even in the midst of a sell-off and a down market. I would be willing to bet that tomorrow there's even more XRP removed from supply, even in the midst of this crash. And we'll find out tomorrow. And hopefully that's why you guys keep showing up, because I call it every single time. Excuse me. But everyone wants to know when is the price going up? And that, to me, that's a matter of if, not, it's a matter of when, not if. Will BMNR be as MicroStrategy with the MSCI thing? Evernorth could. I'm assuming you're talking about Evernorth. I honestly don't know the ticker. So hopefully I'm right. I'm assuming you're talking about Evernorth though, Quelly. Quelly79 is asking, will BMNR be as MicroStrategy? So we don't know yet. Again, there's a potential reclassification happening on January 15th. And that being said, what it states is that if a company holds over, if a company's income is over 50% due to its held assets, due to its treasury assets, then it needs to be potentially reclassified as a fund. Oh, BMNR, thank you. It shows you how much I follow Ethereum. I'm not an Ethereum fan. I'm not a Tom Lee fan either. Let's see, BMNR for yes, it's going to affect every single DAT. Tom Lee's ETF, it'll affect a DAT, not an ETF, okay? DATs are treasury companies like MicroStrategies, Evernorth. BMNR is an ETF, okay? So it won't affect that. So the whole purpose of it is for these companies that are holding more than 50% of their value, I think is what it was exactly, over 50% of their value in cryptocurrency, then or something else or another asset, right? Any kind of asset, really. If the bulk of their value is determined by holding an asset, that's pretty much the same thing as an exchange traded fund or a security in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of regulation. And that's what they're trying to reclassify. So they're saying if MicroStrategies gets reclassified as basically as a type of security or ETF fund, then that's going to massively impact Bitcoin. That could also affect Evernorth and any other DAT company, not ETFs. It's the people who tried to hold those things instead of doing an ETF, like MicroStrategies. So that is all of the news. We've covered the recap. We've covered the stream. We've covered the ETF flows. We covered the Bitcoin crash. Does anyone else have any other questions? I'm going to try and continue to go, but the chat has dried up. If not, I will call it. Is there any more questions? I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes and see. We were up to 34 people in the stream. Again, apologies for the quality at the very beginning. It seemed like I had a internet hiccup, but hopefully since then it has completely cleared up. The stream is still going quiet, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be the end of it. We went 50 minutes, including the drop, so that's not too bad. I think this week is going to have a lot going on, everybody. We're coming out of the holiday week. We're ramping up to Christmas. Q4 is firmly in line. We just ended quantitative tightening, right? That ended today. I briefly covered fractal banking and what quantitative tightening and quantitative easing are. If we rapidly move into quantitative easing, that's going to be a lot of liquidity coming in. And if you want some more macroeconomic, ideas and indicators behind this, please go look at my video from Saturday, the roundup I did for Saturday. It's going to have all of the macro indicators that we need to pay attention to moving through the end of the year that could affect us positively or negatively. My opinion, not financial advice, but I strongly encourage you to look at that video if you want to have a better idea. Any idea of how XRP are on dark pools? Where can I get that information? You can't see what is in the dark pools. That's why they are dark pools. Dark pools are typically held on OTC counters and in exchanges. But we cannot see exactly what is sitting in the dark pool. Unfortunately, that's why it's there. A lot of people are making a big deal about the billion XRP being released from escrow. This happens every single month, guys. This has been going on every single month for 14 years, and they still make a big deal about it every once in a while. That's part of a way to handle liquidity and volatility, as a way of, squelling that so they can use it for what it's intended to use. I wish I had the answer for you, that drill. I don't have the answer. To my knowledge, there's no way to see how much XRP is available on dark pools. But that being said, I think that is everything. Again, the chat's slowing down, so I think I'm going to call it for today. But I will be back first thing tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Make sure you guys join me. We will cover everything that's going on, as well as I'll be dropping shorts today with updates of the news going forward if we have anything else that pops off, okay? But I appreciate every single one of you. As always, hit subscribe, smash the like button. If you're getting value from these videos, please share it far and wide. And I'll see you on the next video. Later.